The evolution of artificial intelligence is coming along like never before. Today I kind of thought I would wake up and then, like, for my own entertainment, maybe make a joke about Brad Chan and how he should give me the source code of Warcraft 3. But really, in my mind, I was thinking that after I make a joke like that on the internet, what I would probably do, I thought this would be cool. I don't know, and maybe this is because, I don't know quite why, but I woke up thinking there are so many possibilities of what I can do on a computer, and then when the day actually goes by, it seems like I didn't actually do them. It's interesting, and yet I did do something. If we think about, okay, so I did do something. So I don't know if anyone saw this, but today I was messing around, and I created this animated 3D graphic of it's supposed to be Jaina as a demon, kind of, but honestly it's mostly just Jaina's robe on a demon at this point. And then evil artist over here rocking out, making some music. And I just put the AI music on it that I already generated, and a bunch of graphs in the background to make sort of a joke about AI is going to tell us all we need to work harder at our jobs. But I don't know. I mean, I was like doodling this, in Retera Model Studio. You can see how there's different like cameras down here. And one of the ideas I had was to try to make scene transitions in time with the music. And so, in order to do that, I actually changed the camera I click in this program so that, when I click around the camera at different angles here, like we've got these different camera angles, it actually saves in time where I'm clicking, which one I clicked on, so that then I can render the same thing on War Smash as like a War Smash scene, and this will probably like render following whatever I was just looking at. I don't even know how that works. You see, like just now when I was clicking through it, right? It's playing those same clips like in the time of when I played them, because it's literally just reading this text file that I put in the temp drive, like tmp/cameras, and it's like which cameras they are and at which time I clicked them, and that way Retera Model Studio is like talking to War Smash. I thought that was kind of fun, but is that something that should have been my entire day? I don't know. I mean, obviously I was just trying to make a joke. Somebody on the internet said they thought I was gone crazy, and I was saying, wouldn't it be more crazy to make a silly video? I don't know. I mean, are these real people that leave YouTube comments? Probably not. My phone is actually still here on the table. I didn't put it back together. I took apart my phone as a joke earlier. I have to go and get a battery. Here we go. Charge the other battery. Yeah, I'm wasting the time of the viewers right now, but that's okay because it's entertainment. My video editor probably doesn't even work anymore. Reduce the quality of the videos. You guys know this? So this is how my phone works. So you got to charge the battery of your phone. That way you can switch them out, and you never have to. So I don't have to charge my phone. I don't have to plug it in the wall. All the plebeians do that. I actually just put the battery on the charger and put the charger on the wall, and then the phone, when I want to use my phone, I just put a new battery in it every day. And for some reason, I don't post on the internet as much anymore, but I can have confidence that my phone is the best phone. Everyone else is absolutely missing out on this. You have no idea. You have literally no idea. Best phone ever. Yep. Literally best phone ever. In so many ways. You don't even know. Right. Anyway, I was going to talk about what I thought I was going to do today. And I just, it's kind of fun to poke fun at it all by just wandering around. But what did I think I was going to do today? It's very interesting. I mean, I woke up this morning and I thought that I was going to do stuff on War Smash, and I didn't do it. It's interesting that happened. I was like 50-50 between, should I work on the weekend for fun to advance the cause and move the world forward? And then the other half of me was like, no, I don't feel like doing that. But if I wasn't going to do that, when you think about the developmental capabilities of the work that I could be doing, I sort of, in my mind, I had an idea of the work that I wished that I did, which I didn't really do any of it. And what I was kind of picturing doing which it's very interesting. There's really a lot to do. Just a moment ago, I clicked play on War Smash, and obviously it like runs music in the scene in a show, right? You have this like sort of animated scene, right? But that's running menu doodle 11 graphs.mdx, right? So I mean, we could change this to Arthas Illidan fight or something, right? And there's a bunch of weird side effects of that, and you say, okay, well, if we want to do Arthas Illidan fight, then instead of the goober cameras on render, we want something different. Instead of the MP3, would want to have final cinematic MP3, right? And it's like the same idea. Did I delete the previous version? I think I deleted the previous versions. So that's all goober cameras, but this is what did this used to be? Sequence index? Probably. It's probably model instance.sequence index. Something like that. Play the camera of the sequence. I feel like that's what it does, right? Am I right? I don't know. I could try to put it back. I used to have it where it worked. I mean, the whole point of this was basically just showing off. It was the fun of saying it did. Oh, yeah, no, it didn't work at all. Okay. Why it didn't work, though, is a good question. Model camera equals in instance.sequence. You would sort of think that would work. Oh, it's probably that we don't have advanced animation sequences, because fade to black is the first sequence. Maybe. But like fade in and stuff. Yeah, here you go. Alright. So I mean, it was based on this, right? Like, I was kind of doing a similar sort of thing. This has, audio, these sorts of things. I don't know, am I recording that audio? Oh yeah, I was recording the audio and it was really loud. Alright, well, it's based on this. You get the idea. But I mean, it's a rendering program, right? It's like if you render a Pixar movie, you can do whatever you want. Most of the time, instead of rendering that, if I go to the launcher, and if instead of being silly and changing this to load the really old code for rendering models, you put the actual game in there, right? And then you could actually play the actual game. So last weekend, I was on the game on here. I clicked on BattleNet. Now you'll see BattleNet freezes when I click on it. I don't know what they did to my server. I think it's like maybe like the Chinese or somebody is like attacking my server now. I don't know. Let's close this for resources. But there's some kind of server problem. So I can't play online on my server. I don't know what they did. If I go and fix it myself, it works. But it's like, if I just let the server run for a while and forget about it, they totally mess it up. I don't know why they messed it up. I don't know what they did. But even in single player. So what I was seeing is that if I just tried to turn this on in single player, somehow the preloader scripts are super busted. I don't really know how. I mean, so obviously, like we were just saying with a rendering program, it's a rendering program. I'm trying to pretend the game. And I just, after years of trying, I want all of it. Here it doesn't even work. Like, what is this? What did we do? No defense type combat simulation enum. Attack type empty. Like, what is this? What broke this? What did we do that broke this? You know what I'm saying? Like, who changed what that makes my code not work? So this was actually it was create unit. It's the basic create unit function. We have units who have no defense type, and somehow you're telling me that we can't handle a unit who has no defense type. Like, since when? There's so many units that would not have these things set, probably. This has never happened before in the history of ever that we had a unit with no defense type. Like, what does my computer think that I'm launching, And these weird things just go wrong like this. Anyway, so I was going to play multiplayer last week, and I thought, ooh, I should play multiplayer last weekend. I should do that. And I didn't do it. My friend and I thought I would do it, but what I just had open, that was like Reign of Chaos. So what I actually wanted to play with my friend was custom mod, right? You get the custom mod, kind of a cool, different menu screen, and I've changed the sort of like tech trees you get. You go in here and I can be like, I'm going to be the ice people, like North Pact or something. And it seems to work in an isolated test. It works in the isolated test, but then it doesn't work when I tried it in multiplayer. And why is that? So in my head I was going to fix that today. I didn't do that. I didn't fix that today. And in theory the reason for the problem is known. Basically these tech trees are using like preloader scripts. You can see how it took a really long time when I clicked build. So obviously this tech tree doesn't have a preloader script, but some of the other tech trees probably have preloader scripts. And anyway, because of those preloader scripts, if I run in here and I go and try to play as like the tribe or something, the Draenei tribe guys, they just explode, and they explode from the preloader scripts. And it's I looked into it, and it's the preloader scripts are negatively interact. Oh, now it works. So what is this now? Why does this one work? And the other day it didn't work. So what that probably means is the preloader script's probably turned off. I bet we would find that if we went looking. What is it? Control B. Yeah, okay, Control B lets me drag around the window and disconnect the mouse there. It's a little bit inconvenient. Yeah, so when I simulate a JavaScript, preloader scripts, it's kind of fun. How do we do that? And, there's a script called preloader. Preload and preloader. And when preloader is turned off, this thing runs fine. It's like, oh, there you go. Now I can build the Draenei guys. Build my Draenei guy altar. Build my Draenei guy hut. Build some buildings. It was like totally works here. Ooh, rewrote the game, make it play a different tech tree. But it doesn't seem to work when it doesn't seem to work when preloader scripts are enabled. So then the question becomes, when I turn this on, why does this fail? And I was looking at this. And I was thinking, it seems like the initialize function is capable of calling the global scoping user function instruction pointer, which is a weird thing that probably shouldn't even exist. But there's a function called init globals in curly braces with like a weird name that you couldn't even ever type in. And that weird function gets automatically generated. But I think the idea was that the function would get ungenerated at the end of when I start doing a preloader script, but it didn't work. Instead, the preloader script actually called the function again for some reason. And you can think about why that is, But these are the sorts of things I thought I would fix, that I would go in here and say, okay, why, if I create a thread with this global instruction pointer, like you would think that this would be a global thread thing that would run, sure, but wouldn't it run in such a way that we run this once and then we run it again on a different global scope? But I guess that's the weirdness. So it's actually the same global scope, and I think that's where these things go wrong. But I don't think that it should matter that it's the same global scope. And so there's these weird side effects to the code, right? Because reset global initialization should set last global's block initialization to -1. I guess what that doesn't really do, so where I failed in thinking about this, is that this doesn't set the init global's autogen function name, which would have to remove. So basically I forgot this, and I think that's why. I bet now if I were to play this, it would probably work. It's a one-line thing, but it meant last weekend when I tried to play this in a group setting, it completely didn't work. Because this function that I want to undefine once it's called the first time wasn't undefined, and so it meant that the preloader script had its own globals, and they tried to initialize their own way, but they called the old system's globals, which then reinitialized to their initial state, which they shouldn't do because that's wrong, and then that just made things break. So it was all just like, obviously we know what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a little town like this. These cheaty faces get 12 gold. balance is not really important to me. Well, actually, to be honest, I have my own balance. You guys don't know it. You know, there are people who would look at this and say that it's imbalanced, but my tech trees are only playing against my tech trees, so I don't really care. Any of these guys work? Most of these heroes don't work. I think the Tamer of Beasts might work. I'm not sure. Look at this fun altar model for these guys, though. You know, you guys have probably seen this on the internet. I made this years and years ago, but I just think it's so fun. You know, I would prefer it to be the case that, you know, Brad Chan, he's gonna play Reforged, but I kind of want to play this one, to be honest with you. I think that's fun, and you know, like I edited the models of these guys so they would like properly carry around lumber, you know, with their arm and stuff. That was not originally in the game. I bet if you go on Reforged and you try to have like Draenei like this, he won't even render his arm holding the lumber. You know, how dumb is that? Brad Chan's not going to fix it. He doesn't even know how. Summon Beast. Summons a random beast, which probably means it doesn't work. Summon Hawk probably works, though. Oh, yeah, look at that. Summon Hawk. Okay. And then I can't click the Hawk. You know, it's like, who programmed this? That the Hawk is unclickable unless if the hero is not under it. That's really weird. And this is what happens when you rewrite the game. Suddenly you can't click your Hawk. Oh, what is that? Why does it work that way? You know? Anyway, so there's just these random nuisances like that. Let's get this Hawk exploring before it dies or something. I don't know. Go see the world. But what is there to see? So this is my other problem. I was thinking I'd like to play this with a friend, but if we actually get this Hawk out there to explore, we'll notice that the enemy computer players do not function at all. They're totally defunct. They're functionless. There's no purpose for them. So even though, you know, I almost have the game, and I also don't have height occlusion on flying units, so they fly into the trees. You know, on Reforged, they got all the bells and whistles. They're going to fly over the trees. So there's stuff like that, but there's so many more important things than whether we fly over the trees. And I just, like last night or something, when I was like asleep, waking up, somehow in my head, I just started to imagine I would fix literally everything. You know, and you can imagine, like, I don't think I built a barracks yet, did I? Okay, I just built a hut. And a lumber mill in the wrong place. All right, guys, let's go chop at the lumber mill. Let me send my guy over here next to the lumber mill. So, like, I don't know. It's so fun, but it's like it's so almost. You know, like I built all these tech trees on Warcraft 3, and then Reforged happened, and then I was kind of like, I don't want to deal with that. I want to play my tech trees on my engine, and I just want it to work. Look at that. That's like me from 10 years ago. Like, building is complete. When these guys finished their altar. I was trying to sound like a Draenei, you know. Building is complete. Like that, right? I mean, it was fun. But, these guys also have towers. Their towers are always really fun. But it's not even doing birth animation. It just appeared. That's kind of sad. You know, I should fix that. Target must be... What? What on earth? Target must be living. I don't know what this is or what this means. What did we do to the barracks?
Building is complete. We will share our ways.
What did we do to the barracks? Target must be living. Oh, now the target is living. I mean, like, what changed, right? I don't have Wander Neutral on this Albatross. I mean, how sad is that? That we don't even have Wander Neutral on the Albatross. And so, you know, I can load my tech trees. I can do the combat. This guy even has... he even has his ability that doesn't work. You know, whatever that is. This guy, he's fun. He can probably kill the Albatross. Oh, there you go. But, yeah, I don't know. You could see how, I feel like this could be fun, you know, go and play this or something. But it doesn't, it's fundamentally non-functional because we don't have enemy AI. And I really don't know why I can't grab this Hawk out of the air. That should get fixed. So I was sort of picturing, we should fix the concept of enemy AI. We should fix the concepts of the units on the minimap being red. And then this other thing I was going to point out: when I get a group of units and I tell them to walk somewhere, watch this really carefully. They don't actually just walk there. They walk around there in a little clobbered mess. Last night in my head, I imagined I would fix that so that I right click and it would go to a formation, a group of 12 guys like you see on Blizzard's game. My guys don't do that. But these things are so fixable. They're so fixable, right? I mean, the reason they're not fixed then is just I didn't fix them. So I could even probably demonstrate fixing it right now. The mini-map. My units are red instead of white. How hard is that realistically to do? Oh, what is this? Okay, they're telling me my computer's lagging. I don't really care about that. So a lot of the mini-map code was started by me. What is this? UI? No. What did we call the mini-map? Shucks. Melee UI. Okay, Melee UI is in a folder with Melee UI minimap. Sorry. So the minimap exists, but when this was constructed, I wrote some of it, and then a GitHub contributor wrote some of it. So there's a bunch of stuff going on, and we do at some point loop through all the units and render that unit if they're not dead or whatever. And then in that case, we figure out, does the unit have a weird special minimap icon? And I would imagine, yeah, if it does not, we set it to team colors. So I suppose this is where you could say, rather than setting it to team color, basically, if unit.getPlayerIndex equals, what do we have, map? I wonder if we have reference to the local player index. Surely we have reference to local player index. You would definitely need that. Is it at least this player is local player? Nothing in the minimap is referencing local player. Well, so that's where it went wrong, right? Because in order to make a local player units solid white, you'd want to do that. Okay, here you go, player. So this must be local player. So player.getID, that's the local player. It's just passed in as an argument. Okay, so if it's my units, it'll be white on the minimap. It's just this was missing, minimap icon. And then we have this other problem. Minimap icon equals. We need some solid white texture. So I guess we don't already have it in there. Special icons. So I don't even think Warcraft 3's minimap actually does this. The original game was performant. So what we're doing here is just calling batch.draw in libgdx to just draw a little dot for every unit on the minimap. And there's pictures of Warcraft 3 doing that in their alpha, but by the time they actually released the game, they did reprogram that to, I think, instead be a grid, and the units are actually lighting up the grid cells of where they're standing, and as a result, you have a maximum functional limit to how many times you loop when you draw that grid. There's a limited resolution, limited amount of painting you do. They might even be able to pull it off on one draw call by just having the grid uploaded as a texture instead of a bunch of CPU looping. So there's all these things Warcraft 3 does that I'm just not doing. But for starters, units should be white if they're my units. And that, I don't even think that should be hard. So we could pass it in as another one of the special icons, or similar to minimap texture. I suppose we just pass in texture solid white or something. I'm not quite sure. Let's see who constructs special icons. So when the minimap gets created, it gets created over here from the special icon. So actually, this looks fine, right? So instead of that, we'll just say special icons 5 equals image util get. And now my auto suggest has some problems on here. Get any extension texture. This thing is map MPQ, and we want to load textures / white BLP, which is it's an in-game texture. It'll get it done. It should be fine. It'll get it done. And we can come back here, and I think then we can just use this dot special icons 5. So that's sort of nice. There's things like that, where you just go in and fix it. But there's other things that are a little bit harder to go in and fix, how do you get the units to move in some kind of grid? So if you have ability move or something, right? you can imagine, move as a concept, it's there, it works. But I guess ultimately in the UI, when we are telling units to move, when we're doing some kind of like, what is it? I guess it's touchdown in the APIs of libgdx. We click the screen, we figure that out in the 3D game world, and we potentially spawn the little thing. Like right command button, right? So it's like if you're dragging something, we do some other thing. If you already have an active command, but really we're probably interested in when you don't have an active command. So you go to the selected units, you go figure out, does the player own the units? And if you do, you rate pick, is there a unit under that? If there is, we attack him, and if there's not, we do right click move. So this sort of becomes a world where maybe the easy place to start is right click move. And we essentially say, okay, for every unit that I have selected, we're going to reissue the point order at click location temp 2. So you could sort of picture, this is fundamentally where, if you wanted to, you could plug in the math equation here and say, like, okay, if I know where my units are in average, in aggregate, which I suppose is probably something that I don't know, but you could certainly make something that would figure that out, right? I'm trying to think, do I want to try to cache it, or do I just, let's say we don't cache it. Let's say it's just simple. Okay, we just take a vector 2, get selection group center, or something like this, right? And you can do that. This is very straightforward. All you got to do that is we loop through the selected units, and we just need like average x and y, right? So essentially, center, create a vector, and then in this vector, I'm going to add unit get x probably, and unit get y, and then that ought to really do it. We add the centers to this, and then we just have to, I don't think it has divide, but I think it probably has scale, or maybe like inverse scale. Yeah, I guess just scale, just inverse scale. This dot selected units dot size, right? And so you just sort of scale by 1 as a floating point divided by that, and then return the center. So if you know the center of the units, is sort of my point here, right? Selection group center, and then you also know where the units are going, which we already have in click location temp 2 apparently. What that means is that you can construct a line from where you are to where you're going, and then perpendicular out from that and form a squadron. So it becomes possible to do that, right? And there are all kinds of ways. I think Warcraft 3 optimizes that based on unit priority, and they're actually quite smart about it. And as I was pointing out in my code, it's quite stupid about it. So I could sit here and try to make this a little bit smarter. These are the kinds of things in my head I thought maybe I would do today, and I didn't actually do them today. But I think they would be very possible. I don't think there's anything stopping me from doing this, right? Even if we say, you want to compute that line, essentially all we really have to do to get a perpendicular, you could do a bunch of high-level functions to sort of do it for you. But I do sometimes wonder if these things are a little bit more efficient to do it on your own. So, for example, if you have x and y points and you want to go over here and form a t, all you really need to do is take the magnitude you're going by and then make x equal y and y equal negative x, and you should become the t shape, I'm pretty sure, which means that if dy is click location temp 2 x minus selection group center x, and then dx equals click location temp 2 y minus selection group center y. But again, one of them has to multiply by -1 to really make it perpendicular and not just flipped across y equal x. You construct this t, you construct a perpendicular, and then the idea is we probably want magnitudes in that direction. We don't actually want, I don't know, like the thing itself. So basically what I'm trying to say is probably this should be normalized on vector length, so that I'm doing my own length math. And to really do that, we do sort of need the distance between them, which points out, it's do we care about efficiency? I mean, we probably don't care about efficiency, so maybe we should start with that. So if I just do distance to selection group center, right? This is dis to click, or like distance from group to click, something like that, right? Distance from group to click. So if we have that as a number, obviously we want to divide our deltas by that, and then multiply by the size of a unit. We don't know how big a unit is, but for the sake of a video, when I'm making a point, we could do 128. Actually, instead of 128, the other thing that we could do is we could say get selection group max collision. And this is also quite straightforward, but essentially the thought process would be you go through all the units and you just kind of compute max collision. You started at 0. And then we say max collision equals whatever is the math maximum, unit get collision size, or unit get simulation unit get collision, it has a rectangle. What about get type collision size? Okay, great. That was extremely annoying, but I think we're there. We get the unit's collision size or max collision that we already had. Great. I really need to work on my code editor's auto-suggest. It's getting old. Cool. Max collision, selection group max collision. That means I can, when I get selection group center, I can also get selection group max collision. Take that number, factor it in to our dy dx that we want to use. And I think that makes sense. So essentially, the thought process then becomes, can you use math to add multiples of that outward from the units to separate them? Obviously, there are some ups and downs to that. When we're looping through the selected units, if there's 3 one-way or 2 one-way, how are you going to do that? Like, is it a triangle? I don't think we make triangles. I think we just make squares. But in order to do that, we sort of need a function that if it's 1, it's just 0. If it's 2, it's halfway in each direction. If it's 3, it's a line. If it's 4, it's a line. It's 5, maybe it's a line and 1 behind or something. There's an interesting mathematics there. And usually the math to do that is not very difficult. For me, it's a little bit later in the evening. I didn't think of that math just yet, but I bet if you asked ChatGPT, it would be like, here you go, here's the math, and it would instantly know, no question. I'm just taking a little bit of time because I'm human, and I'm trying to think of what is a good function where one guy is just got, because if there were 3 guys, you'd want to have that. I mean, it essentially becomes a matter of taking the number of characters that you have and iterating them. It's a very simple loop, but the key is figuring out, I guess, if you think about a line of units, how much do you offset the line to one side or the other? So probably what this would be is that if there are 4 units, that becomes the maximum of the width of the line. So it's like unit line width. This is where I'm starting. So I'm going to have a line of units in my formation. That line of units would be a group of guys up to 4 guys, no more than 4. So whatever is smaller, 4 or selected units size. And so this is like the size of the line I'm going to form. Now you could picture in your head, in some kind of world, if you actually have 9 units, maybe they should form a grid of 3, 3, 3. I'm not doing that math right now. I didn't feel like it. But if you have 4 or more, we'll have a line of 4. Otherwise, we have a line of 3 or a line of 2. Once I know the unit line width, then I should be able to, in a very basic sense, figure out what is the actual full distance across the line. And that full distance across the line should be line width minus 1 times distance from group to click thing, this thing, right? Sorry, not distance group click, selection group max collision. The one that jumped over to the side there. So essentially, all I'm trying to say is the perpendicular distance should be this unit line width minus 1, because I'm basically picturing the number of spaces between the units. So like if I have 4 units, then I have 3 line widths like between them. Well, not really line. Well, I shouldn't use the word line width for that because I just used it for something else. But I have 3 spaces between those 4 units, and those 3 spaces, that's the number I'm trying to get. Those 3 things times selection group max collision times 2.0, because the collision was half the size of a unit, and so there's double on each one. So it's like now I know this full perpendicular distance, but actually I would probably divide that distance in half because I need to add it to where I clicked anyway. So maybe we don't need the times 2, and we basically just use that number. We take that, offset to the side, and then just start counting. It almost works. I mean, I think that idea almost works. Where it would get me into trouble is that we don't particularly know. In my head I was thinking, well, there's dx and dy. I figure out a vector, and then whatever it's pointing, I essentially rotate it with dx dy. But we don't really know if I'm adding multiples of dx dy. I'm trying to think about this. I'm adding multiples of dx dy. There isn't one or the other of them that I would necessarily add perpendicular distance to, right? I started off, and I got ahead of myself on this, right? I was multiplying the max collision into dx dy. Maybe I don't really want to do that. Maybe what I want to do is just have them in unitless normalized space, dx dy. It's a vector we know is one of the 2 directions. I'm not quite sure which direction, but it's one of the 2 directions on the side of the t. And probably because I'm inverting x and y and then making x negative, there's probably a math you could figure out, and it's like always the negative direction, x part of the t or something. But I'm picturing that t on the end of that, and I'm thinking that what I probably want to do for every unit is to figure out the x and the y of this particular unit, sort of like target x and target y, that are going to be what they were before, click location temp x thing, but with this dx dy vector added. So like plus dx, and the other guy is plus dy. But the amount of dx dy added is really special, right? Because it's going to depend on the index of my unit in this math. And so on some level, we want to also have unit index starts at 0, counts up for each guy as I go through. So that concept is fairly straightforward, and it's basically just a matter of unit index plus plus down here or something. But basically, we've got these units, they're going where they're going, and the thought process is we have some notion of perpendicular distance. You would almost just want to say we're multiplying that at dx dy, but we're going to go the full perpendicular distance, then maybe subtract it back the other direction until we get to the other side of the line. And so the amount that we're subtracting is sort of based on our unit index. But that's kind of the weird part, because the amount that we're subtracting, being based on the unit index, needs to repeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then loop. And so we can do a modulo, right? We can do basically a modulo and say, all right, I'm going to subtract unit index modulo 4, and this 4 should probably be a constant, right? Because realistically, this is something like unit formation line size, something like that, and that'll make it easier to change later when people come back. But we have this unit index modulo the formation line size, and that almost makes sense. But what that's missing is that it needs to then be multiplied, obviously, by the mathematical amount of the max collision of our guy. subgroup max collision times 2.0. So there's this interesting mathematics that almost gets us where we want. You know, it's like the target, offset, dip, 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 dip. But we also have to account for multiple lines of 4. You know, if I'm creating this idea of this sort of line of 4. So in order to do the multiple lines, right, we have to actually get a little bit weird. And I think what I'm just going to use, knowing that dx, dy are just kind of flipped, we can use dx as dy and dy as dx to construct sort of the original vector between them. I think maybe that's silly, but anyway, it'll definitely work, and I think it makes sense. So if you think about that, basically, like the x could be minus dy, and then we basically do the same mathematics in here times this nonsense, but not exactly, because, as you may have noticed, this differs on a few key things. Perpendicular distance minus. So this one, I guess we don't really have perpendicular distance in here. I guess we're just going to take unit index. But instead of modulo, as any good row column maker knows, when you change modulo to divide in the other direction, you start to make rows and columns. So that's sort of fun. And I think we can copy that same logic, put that in the other dimension, and then ensure that instead of a minus, it becomes a plus. I think that makes sense. Although maybe I should flip these two. But we get something like that. No, I think they were right. Let's put them back. Anyway, it could be fun to test. Right? But these are the sorts of things in my head. I think we've re-enabled. It's testing everything, because I think I re-enabled preloader scripts. We'll see how it goes. Re-enabled preloader scripts and try to run it. What do you suppose Brad Chan is doing tonight? You know, hey Brad, what is Brad doing tonight? You think Brad is up late working on Reforged? Does he ever get really motivated for his life? Is he like, wow, I'm Brad, I should get motivated? Probably not, right? Are these guys going to form a group? Are they going to form a line? Nope, they're just still forming a WAD. They have no idea. They have no idea. I mean, they kind of look like they're trying to form a little group, more than before, but it's like the size of the group is too small. Like much too small. Is there, there might be a formation size. That's probably a thing, isn't it? Do you guys have a world editor? Can I get world editor? So I'm on Linux, and this Linux doesn't really run Wine, so I don't really have that. But I think when I made my own world editor, I have that, so maybe we can run my world editor that I wrote, and I could go and look that way. It's better than nothing, would be my thought. It has these errors, why does curse have a 4-letter or 3-letter metadata field instead of 4? I don't know. That's cursed. The code of Warcraft is cursed by 3-letter metadatas. Anyway, what was I looking for? Movement, group separation. There's really not much to go off of besides collision size here. But you can see how a peasant's collision size being 16 is not very smart. It's really not smart. It really should be bigger than that. So this does kind of lead you to this conclusion that that's really where I went wrong, is we can't tell if this code is working at all, because max collision should probably be multiplied by like 2 or 4 or something. But let's start with 2. Probably it should be 4. Well, let's start with 2. We'll see where we get. Oh, it was already running. Okay, sorry. Let's quit out of this one, I guess. Cool. So I go back to this map. I think I fixed the preloader scripts, so that's kind of fun. Alright, so then I spin up the code again. It's interesting the music doesn't play. There was a time where there was... I'm pretty sure there was music. Maybe I took it out. I don't know. See if they make a squadron. The other thing is... Okay, so they don't quite know how to make a squadron. The one guy over here, He's off to the side. You can see, it's almost a squadron. That's sort of fun. But there's like a straggler. The straggler doesn't know where to go. The other thing that I'm seeing is that they have no idea about, we've got these squad positions we're going to, but who goes to which squad position? So I definitely think it would look better if we multiply this by at least 3 instead of 2. Probably it should be 4. Probably it should be multiplied by 4. But we'll start with 3. So that'll widen the squad positions. But it does sort of seem like the other problem is there might be something going on in the original game that picks that each unit moves to the squad position to which that unit is closest. And that's a really interesting and crazy calculation, because it sort of implies constructing the list of all available squad positions relative to the number of units and then picking them out after that, which is certainly not what I'm currently doing. But you could imagine someone could do it, and it would make these things look less broken. What do you suppose, would that be too hard to do? And it's probably too boring for the user. Maybe I shouldn't do that on a video. I should just do it myself. But I think it makes sense as a concept, is that you would want to have your guys squadron move in a way that works a little bit better. Also, when the last row behind only has one guy, it should use a different perpendicular distance. And so that's also kind of a problem, because how do you compute that? Basically, it's I guess it's a function of modulo and the size. So essentially, unit line width and then last unit line width, right? So last unit line width is like the last line in the back, and we could actually figure out what that number would be, because that number would be the selection unit size modulo the formation size. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. And that would give me the line in the back. And so perpendicular distance should be followed up by last perpendicular distance. Now, figuring out whether a particular unit should use last perpendicular distance, that's really probably totally its own chore. Oh, we lost the name last unit line width over here. Somehow we did that. Okay, last unit line width. So there's last perpendicular distance, and then you think to yourself, well, how would you know if last perpendicular distance truly equals the thing? And I guess, you could kind of figure that out by saying, so basically this needs like perp dist used, that equals perpendicular distance, and we're going to sometimes change it, but not always. But the determination of whether to change it essentially has to be based on this very interesting element of when I'm doing this stuff, do I reduce my perpendicular distance by detecting if I'm in the last line? So figuring out if you're in the last line is essentially like you need a function, and there's going to be a very simple math function that does this, that says, if I know how many units I have and I'm in rows of 4, can I tell if I'm in the last row of 4, which should essentially mean, can I check if myself floored, like divided and then floored equals the other guy, something kind of like that, right? Which probably should be as simple. I mean, you could almost picture just saying if unit index divided by, is that how that would work? Unit index divided by formation line size equals selected units dot size divided by that. Then perp dist needs equals last perpendicular distance. But it's not actually totally correct, because fundamentally the dividing like that, I'm kind of doing a hack. Whenever you have a number that is an exact multiple of 4, it will increase, and it will see that. And we don't actually want that. We want it to increase 1 after that. So there is kind of this idea that the number I want to compute is probably actually unit index minus 1. So like for unit 0, unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. No, I'm just wrong. I don't need that, do I? Because it is unit 0, 1, 2, 3. Those numbers divided by 4 are all 0. And if you have 4 units, it's like your checking was equals 4. But if you have 5 units, then selected units divided by line size is still equals 1, and you're checking if that equals 1. Yeah, I don't need that minus 1, do I? I think I just do this. That's fun. I wonder if it just works. Evening coding doesn't make our formation line with the guy behind it, but it still doesn't prioritize the units moving to the formation place that is closest down, which seems like it would be harder. It is kind of an interesting dilemma, but I'm sure it has a good solution. I think maybe I could just literally program it, in an inefficient way of just telling the computer to do what I want. That would work. That would definitely work. Cool. Yeah, do you guys think this will probably actually work while they move in a squad over here? No. See, the guy in the back always goes to the wrong place. They try to form a line, but one of them just gives up. Oh, see, look at that. So in one angle there, the math was actually what I pictured. But it's not always what I pictured, And I don't quite follow why not. The guy in the back, he just doesn't know what to do. But we're a lot closer to formation ranks than we were before. Now, then you have stuff like that, which just looks terrible. We flip our formation, and so everybody inverts. And I feel like the Blizzard game is smarter than that. Somehow they made that not happen. But also, it's interesting to see that in a case like here, the guy in the back is offset. He's not really where you'd expect him to be. He isn't always offset, but he's clearly doing his math wrong, is essentially what I'm seeing, I should get some more of these guys. So we're definitely doing the math wrong. I don't know exactly why, but something about the last stretch where we add, we're adding dy right here. This needs to be dx. Look at that. Solving problems is fun. Then we're going to want a toggle formations button to turn on and off, to make that like cancelable or something. That would be cool. Because then, I guess there's sometimes where you don't want the formations or something like that. But hopefully this would make the movements a little more natural. Make them move with formations. And now they'll actually move in good formations because we fixed the math. Maybe. It's a possibility. It still is a bit mechanical because, when I tell them to walk over here, they'll be like, okay, and they form a formation group thing, right? And that almost looks like what you'd want. But then when I tell them to go the other way, they will probably literally invert, and every guy runs to where he is not to try to form this like weird group, So sometimes it works. I'm like, okay, I got 2 guys, and now they're kind of in a group. So I do feel like this is a very fun addition to my code, but I'm sure you can picture we get a ton of units, and they're still kind of running around like crazies until they get in their formation, and then if you tell them to go the other way, they all just jumble up. So I think that we would go a long way towards doing this better, because like these guys, look at this weird war smash movement. Look at that weird war smash movement. Oh, and then I didn't have this guy selected. So like now we made a row of 4 and 3. They're so confused. Once they're moving in formation, right? They're like almost a formation. Like, oh, okay, here we go. Here's our formation. But the whole like about face concept where they run around to go the other direction is not working how you would expect at all. And it's interesting to think, how would you even do that? Because it's sort of like we would want, when I tell this group to go the other way, instead of everybody inverts and we go, the reverse of that, you'd want to have, once you've figured out where the guys are and where the guys need to go, you have to like juggle who's going where so that he goes to the place closest to him, which they're definitely not always doing here. Sometimes we just become a giant mash of units running around. It looks in some instances it looks so extremely unnatural compared to Warcraft 3, and other times it's okay, And then there's the parking function, where if a unit hits another unit and he can't get where he's going, he'll just stop for a while, which is definitely weird. But you know what? My units are white on the minimap, so that's kind of fun. There you go. So anyway, I had these mental images that I would fix these things and a whole lot of other things. But there's so much to do. There's so much to do, and there's really a lot of, time is limited in life. Because I guess AI is going to, kill us all or something? I don't know. And, it's kind of weird, looking down the barrel of running out of time for life itself and trying to figure out formations, and knowing that Brad Chan is just sitting there with the code. He just takes it for granted. He's like, I'm Brad Chan. I have the code for formations. This is how the world should be. I'm the only formationer in all time. Okay, Brad. Or like this albatross. Why does this albatross not fly around randomly, like wander neutral? It's not even hard. Do you guys know how easy it is to do wander neutral? It's so easy. All I should do, I just go to an ability. Like, I made waygates one time when I was hacked off. We could probably copy waygates and make wander. And they're not remotely similar, but I think it's a no icon ability that does stuff. Ability wander neutral, maybe, and I called it wander in the neutral folder. I guess I'm kind of wrong about this, because actually it should probably be generic no icon ability. It's probably the real way to do it. Ability wander, generic no icon ability. So I think it's like one of these things that just does that. Maybe. I guess I wanted to implement ability spell. We like ability spell. It's good. Is abstract generic no icon ability? It's not much. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna make ability spell on this one. I'm pretty sure this is AWAN over here, by the way. AWAN for wander. Maybe it's smart. I don't know if it uses smart, but it might use range. And I think all it needs to do for range is probably read get cast range. Oh yeah, I already had get cast range, so we don't even need to do anything. And then just basically this on tick function that's already here. All these other functions don't do anything. Pretty much, I don't even want them. I think I'll just delete them. Everything except on tick. And then they'll probably make me add some of these things back, but I don't really want to have to do that. Ability category movement or something. Okay, sure. What are the unimplemented methods? We don't like any of these methods. Okay, on add, on remove. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. You can't do any of this. If you get into a situation that you're checking if you can use it, order ID not accepted all the time on everything. It has no order ID. Do not order it. Okay, not accepted. Not accepted. Not accepted. What is this? Not active ability. Okay, great. So it's like a passive ability. There must be. That's silly. I had to implement all that. Okay. Anyway, passive on tick ability. What do we do? If unit dot get order, get current order equals null or something like that. Does current order ever equal null? Actually, I'm not sure. Started order, or does it equal like stop? No. I don't think it's current order. It sounds broken. How do I do that? Do they have get default behavior still? What does get current order even do? Last started order. That just sounds dumb. Get current behavior. We're basically trying to figure out if what the unit is currently doing is equal to stop. But instead of stop, I guess, no, yeah, I should just do stop. Alright, sure. Instance of C behavior stop. So if the unit is stopped, if the unit is doing nothing, and I guess also if unit.isCaster is movement and it disabled, you probably want to check that you're not disabled movement. Excuse me. Then what we do, well, actually, first, I think we want to have last wander time or something like that, right? Last wander end, something like that. I don't know, last wander end. So if this happens, then if last wander end equals -1, last wander end equals get turn tick. Get turn tick. So we have this notion of if you finished wandering, you can sort of freeze the turn tick thing. But if you haven't finished wandering, nothing else. And then basically game get turn tick minus last wander end greater than, I don't know, some amount of time. What's next constants? Game speed time factor? No, not that one. Simulation time step. I wonder if this actually has a duration. It probably does, and we should probably be using that, but I didn't do that right now. I just wanted to put wander. I want to make the albatross fly around, you know? We'll put it as like 2 seconds. I don't freaking know. If it's 2 seconds, then, you know, last wander end equals -1 again. So we would repeat this, and unit.order, yeah, game order ID apparently is, I feel like this should just be order IDs.smart, because it's really not the order ID of the ability. And we're gonna order him. What does this take? Wait a minute. Order. Oh, it takes ability target. Yeah, okay, sure. Ability target. So you need an ability target that represents a random point around the unit. I guess we just create one. New ability point target. Obviously, to do that, then we do need random angle. We can use the seeded random of the game to get some sort of float, and then multiply that by pi times 2, I guess. So we get some sort of random angle, right? Because then we can say unit get x plus cosine random angle times random distance, I guess. Or do they always go the maximum distance, actually? I feel like they might always go the maximum distance. Yeah, okay. Maybe just get cast range. Didn't I just confirm that we have get cast range? No, we don't have cast range. Okay, alright. World ability get field float. Ability fields, cast range at level. Okay. What is this? When we use this, how do we use this? That. Okay, sure. Passive ability spell based has an icon though. That's the problem. I didn't use that. Otherwise I would have used that. Okay, create field cast range. Sure. Alright, we have a cast range now. Sure. Alright, cast range. Same thing. Same thing. Bad auto suggest. Sign function. Y. You guys know it. You know what I'm doing. You know it. Yeah, you know. And then this is like mad at me because of some stupid thing where the cosine function is not considered a float. You know, that's a silly problem to have. Cool. Maybe I fixed the albatross. You know, there's all these layers and layers of you just do it. I've seen these people. They think that they're going to ask AI to solve all their problems. And at the end of the day, it's like the AI doesn't know what to do. You know, until we get an AI that I can just say, "Hey AI, rewrite Warcraft for me." That's what I need the AI to do, is just rewrite the Warcraft. You know, until we do that, there's going to be humans doing things probably, and they're going to be sufficient. They're going to be increasingly unappreciated in doing the things, I would imagine. Let's go check this albatross. Maybe the albatross won't be there. Maybe the ability will make it explode in flames. I don't know. Oh, he's right there. Well, okay, of course he's right there. So here's where I went wrong. So you make an ability like that, it doesn't automatically start running. You know, we still have to go in here. We have AWAN. We don't have AWAN, right? Okay, we'll put AWAN in. Come on, guys. AWAN. You guys wonder, how did I know that was the code of wander neutral was AWAN? It turns out I know everything, Brad. I already know. Just give me the code. Okay, AWAN, which allows me to do wander neutral, which allows my unit to operate as expected, I would imagine. Maybe. Let's find out. Awesome. Let's go check out that albatross. Yeah, you're needed once again. I need you to come check out the albatross, guy. Come do it. Snap to it. Look at that albatross, dude. He moved. He's a moving albatross. I called it. Maybe. Maybe not. I kind of think he moved once. In my mind, I thought he did. But I do sort of think that there's probably something where the function of last wander, you know, if it equals -1, it equals current time. I guess we can just fix movement type. Is this okay? Movement type. Why is not equal movement type dot foot or that? I mean, that would perhaps fix it, but it doesn't quite explain. I guess or unit get current behavior equals null. Maybe sometimes it's null. Something like that. No behavior, stop behavior. Perhaps they are identical or something. I was thinking there is a world where it probably just sets it to null. How fun is that, though? Now my little critter is going to wander. You know what I'm saying? And like, these are the things I sort of thought I would do today. And it doesn't really seem like I did them. But that's sort of an interesting observation, you know? Life is an interesting thing. So I also, along with doing things, along with the fun of doing things in a video, I kind of thought that I would talk about why I forgot to do them. But obviously I should go to sleep too. Obviously I should go to sleep. Why did I forget to do things? Oh, there we go. How's this bird doing? No, he's just still right there. I'm feeling let down by this albatross. He's not doing what I want. This albatross is not good. This albatross is not doing what you would want. If movement is not disabled, if he is stopped or not. So I guess one idea is we could take out the idea that the unit has to be stopped for it to be periodically told what to do, and then that should make it be told what to do all the freaking time, which would make it move around constantly. And I'm a little bit interested to see that, just to kind of check in my mind, what are we up against here? You know, what is the reason that this bird doesn't move? It's probably obvious. It's probably super obvious, and I just haven't thought of it yet. But what would that be? Alright, let's go see the bird. See if the albatross is still here, flying around. Which you would think would be making him move about randomly. No. No, maybe it's not AWAN. Am I crazy? Maybe it's not AWAN, guys. I was trying to just brag to Brad that I know that it's AWAN, but like now it's like maybe it's not AWAN, you know? What is it? What is it, Brad? Neutral unit strings. Wander. Okay, grab Wander star. Neutral ability strings, that makes sense. I don't know why I put unit strings. So Tornado Wander sucks. It is AWAN. Oh, there you go, AWAN. AWAN. Oh, I bet it's not cast range then. Okay. Alright, neutral ability funk. AWAN. So I was right. I needed to get fixed about what I did with reading from the SLK. Right, so in basically like unit data, and it would be really nice if I could open ability data. You would think maybe we could open it with LibreOffice instead of having to do it the hard way. Oh yeah, here we go. Alright. AWAN. So if you go to AWAN, one of these columns is probably a big number. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it's just hard-coded. Really? We just hard-code the crap out of it? Well, that makes my life easy. Here I am trying to use some preset number and cast range and all this, and you know, the dude's probably just typed in 100. I bet, you know, the stop behavior thing is probably not the issue. It's probably not the cast range. The cast range is probably just, I'll bet it's either a gameplay constant that I don't remember to read. I'm going to put gameplay constants dot wander, get distance, get range, close enough range, follow range, pawn item range, none of that stuff. It's probably none of that. It's probably just set to like 200. You know, some guy just probably typed it in. I don't know. That was probably it. It was probably that. That's why the bird was facing 0 degrees, is because he was constantly spam running to his own position and he couldn't figure out where to go because he couldn't use cast range. But it makes sense if you think about it. He was facing 0 degrees. He was spam running in his own location. And it's all silly. Here we go. Alright, victory. Let's go check the bird. Let's go check the bird. I'm gonna feel so smart when I see this bird moving. Look at that! Look at that bird, he's moving. See, there you go. I feel like that's what you expect of the flying units, you know, is that they just fly around. I don't know that they actually hover. I feel like it's not very common that a flying unit would hover. I also actually wonder if the flying units go a larger distance. I don't know, we could look that up. But now I'm kind of curious to find a land unit. I don't know if this map has them, but you know, if there was like a shore crab, that would be kind of cool. The person who drew this map put in shore crabs. I kind of wish he did, and I'm guessing that he did not. But hey, my units on the minimap have my color now, and I can scout with a squad of workers who should probably be back working. Actually, if I'm not about to just find a critter. Oh, here you go. This crab. Look at this crab right here. What will he do? Yeah, see, how about that? The crab moves a little bit, and then he moves a little bit, and then he moves a little bit. I think he's moving more than actual Warcraft 3 critters. I put it on a 2-second timer. I'll bet the real ones are on a 5-second timer or something. Maybe that's in the data file that I just had open, actually. I'll bet it should have been, right? Was there a 1 in here? Duration. What are these things? These are not duration. These are like, is it a unit ability? Does it have levels? But I definitely think the duration is in here. And apparently, it's all 0. It's just junk. It's all just junk for AWAN. Yeah, okay. It's literally junk. It's just absolute junk. There's no data at all. Okay. So this makes me think that I'm going to experimentally say that my critters probably should have a different cast range based on if the unit is flying or not. So basically, I don't even think this needs to be a variable because it could be a constant, right? Area land is 200. I think the flying units should have a bigger area where they just keep going. So essentially, land unit, because then you can have range equals land unit question mark area land else area air, something like that, which gives us this range value to use. So I have a range, which means I don't need that other thing. And our timer, instead of a 2-second timer, we want to put it on a 5-second timer. The timer only applies to land units anyway. That seems better. So now we have some critters that critter around, you know, it seems cool. These guys should probably be harvesting lumber. But I feel like that's kind of fun, you know? I mean, it just seems like these are the things that you would want to have work. Systems that ought to operate in a particular way. Alright, definitely. Alright, we want a hut then. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's fun. These are the things I thought I would do today, and I did not do them. But look how fun it is to do them. What is Brad doing? I don't know. I'm sure it's not really fair that I'm being really critical of Brad. You know, if Brad and I were in the same room, perhaps we would play Warcraft 3 together. And if you think of it that way, me being really critical of Brad, maybe that's not that logical. There are probably people who would tell me that it's not really that logical. I can understand why they would say that. I do appreciate that they would say that. But then you have things like playing as the Drain I lost, and you think to yourself, why does Brad not let me do that? Brad, you should probably let me do that. But I guess I have evolved beyond any concern for what Brad does or does not allow me to do. Somehow when I mention Brad, I just think of, have you guys ever seen that TV show? There was Brad from Monetization was like the final boss of the TV show. It reminds me of Brad from Monetization. It does do that. So I'm in this game, but I'm in a stale game that has an old version of the code. I know there's some people who really like hot reload code. I don't think I have that. I think that this bird is using 200 speed over here. But oh, hey, there's a skink. Look at that skink. You know, I wonder if Warcraft 3's Wander is smart enough to navigate the minimum speeds of the units as well as the maximum speeds. You know what I mean? Like if you look at, what is it, like unit balance? Does this have speed? Yeah, min speed, max speed over here. Like I wonder if the critters use their min speed. What column label is that? It's column AJ. Alright, so if I go to Enshi or something, right? No, we're not going to Enshi. Okay. What is the skink? What is the skink called? Skink, NSKK. Okay. So the skink, does he have an AJ? Oh, he does not. But some other stuff does. So if I look at something like sheep, sheep has an AJ of 100. But it's just all 100, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. I guess the minimum speed is used when the units are in a group squad. And I didn't program that in yet, but you could conceive of a world where the units slow down when they're next to other units. Another thing that doesn't work on War Smash the way that it does on Warcraft 3 at all, really. But I'm not very concerned about that. I think that it's cool that now my creeps or my critters wander, you know? Next thing you know, I'll have the creeps actually fight together. And, you know, attack one equals attack them all. And then, you know, if you run away from them, they'll time out and have to run back or something. Oh, I got killed by a Hydra. It's kind of fun. This is making me want to play the game. I'll probably do that next. But for now, I think I'm going to end the video. Alright, well there you go. Now we talked about, yep, the things that I could have done. We might wish I did, but I didn't do. But then I did just now, so that's fun. It's a great day. Some people are using AI, other people like me are just doing stuff. And I think that that's okay. Probably. But I think it might be the people who are doing stuff might be having a better time. I think it's possible. We'll see.